So, you've invented something. You may have invented a dance move. You may have written a song, a poem, a memoir of some kind. Or maybe you've created something absolutely fantastic digitally. So you created this masterpiece of digital artwork. Or you've written a musical score. Okay, so for the piano, the guitar, or some kind of musical instrument. Or maybe you've written a piece of code that nobody else has written and that functions differently to what everybody else has done. It's your intellectual property, and you don't want someone to take that and claim ownership and get monetary gain from it when you should be. So, how do you protect yourself from plagiarism? So this is what we're going to look into. So firstly, we need to look into what ownership is. Now, maybe you've got an idea. Okay, so for example, we create something unique, then we should have the ownership over it. Okay, so, but how does this fit into computing? Well, in computing, you may create a piece of software, okay, that other people might use, that they will find really, really handy. So you would have written that code, or maybe you've written a piece of code that functions differently to everybody else. Or maybe you've got an idea for a piece of hardware. So these things may not have been created yet, but they may be ideas. But still, they are your ideas. Okay? So it might be an idea if you thought of something and you don't want somebody else to take the credit for it. Okay? So, we need to copyright things. Okay? So copyright will protect something that is just an idea at this stage. It may not be a tangible piece of equipment. It may not be a functioning piece of software, but it's an idea, and that idea needs to be protected. So many countries have some kind of trademark or copyright laws. And the UK has the Copyright and Patents Act from 1998. So the USA has had the Copyright Act since 1976. And these laws are designed to protect intellectual property, but it has to be patented first, and it has to be your work. So you may get your ideas down on paper, you may get your designs down on paper, but firstly, they have to be documented as ideas. And then that way, they can be used as intellectual property. So a typical copyright legislation will include, for example, a requirement for the registration recording of the date and of the creation of the work, a period of when a copyright will apply, and a policy to be applied if the individual holding the copyright dies. Okay, so someone would hold that copyright, and basically what needs to happen is it can't just stop because somebody's died. Things may need to move on, and maybe they need to be developed. So an agreed method of the indicated copyright is using this symbol. Okay, so you see this big C? You'll see this on most things in the UK in particular. So copyright legislation. Now, when copyright is placed, the product has the symbol here, and it's used with a date. So the copyright owner must state how to protect and must state that they own the product, and it can be used for free, but it must be given credit too. So for example, the music that I use in my video, I give credit underneath most of my videos to say that this is where I've taken the music from. So the ACM Code of Ethics 9.02 states that this code may be published without permission as long as it's not changed in any way and it carries the copyright notice. So like copyright 1999 by the Association of Computing Machinery, Inc. and the Institute for Electrical and Electronics Engineers. Okay, so that's an example of how it can be used. Now, digital formatting. So as we know, digital formatting has become more and more frequent. So, for example, we can upload things on YouTube. We can upload things on the internet anywhere. Pinterest, for example, Wikipedia. We can live stream. So there's so many sites that the internet is this massive vacuum of, many possibilities, unlimited possibilities. So in modern day, intellectual property exists, but mostly in digital format for streaming or downloading. So computers make the copying and distribution of material incredibly easy. So the flip side is unauthorized downloads and copies can be used, very easily. So as we will know that there is, many opportunities on the internet to stream stuff without the copyright owner's permission. So any monetary income from this basically is theft. Okay? So copyright acts are in place to protect the owner from this kind of theft, and the courts will make the perpetrator pay. Okay, so that's generally what happens. So if you are illegally streaming something from the internet, so for example, if you've taken a film that is in a cinema and you're streaming it over the internet and charging people for it, but paying them, they're paying less than what they're paying a cinema, then you are making a monetary income. And yet the courts will make you pay for it because it's very, very clear that it's illegal. Websites. So many websites offer free downloads of copyrighted music, games, films, books, TV shows and software, for example. Most of the time, these distributions, unless the website has the following, the website holds the copyright for whatever is being distributed. So if they have permission, they can distribute it for free. If the website has the copyright owner's permission and the resources are free from copyright, then they can distribute those items for free. Now, there are consequences for the development of the internet and World Wide Web. So many years ago, prior to the internet, and all of this here was very familiar when I was growing up. So prior to the internet being a fixture in society, the breaching of copyright happened, but in a different way. So the music was taped from the radio or onto a cassette tape. Unrestricted access to photocopying was basically happened. And in more modern times, DVDs and CDs were copied to sell. So for example, Blu-ray doesn't allow really copyright infringement. So DVDs were copied on a regular basis and they were sold on a regular basis. So if you wanted to go and buy a film on DVD and it was about £15, you could guarantee somebody else was selling it for £5. So this happened often. Now, this is known as piracy, which now takes place through the internet. So now the piracy has simply gone from magnetic tape and DVD and CDRWs to the internet. So now it all happens, and it still happens all the time, and it's now streaming. So to make a product illegal and to copy the data, it has to be ripped from the original product. So the computer will create a file such as a WMI or an AVI and store it in the computer. So to protect the interest of the intellectual property, the digital rights management counters such activity. So the digital rights management is around to make CDs and DVDs unable to be ripped from the disk, and now encryption is put in place. So peer-to-peer file sharing to counter piracy or illegal sharing through internet service providers is monitored and is placed in the report usage of this technology. So generally when the internet came around, a lot of music sharing went on in places like Napster, and Kazaa, and they was all peer-to-peer file sharing. But apparently it was illegal. But we all know there's still sites around that everybody uses, and those file shares basically still happen. But the internet service providers are meant to be monitoring this and reporting any usage. So please complete homework 8. Okay, or was it homework 8? I think. No, sorry, homework 13. Okay, so please complete homework 13, and the very best of luck.